Behold, Kodak AEROCOLOR, a film that is not Kodak AEROCHROME. I purchased this roll of 35mm film from a camera store in Russia because that was the only place I could find it, and I don't know why. Aero Color is a fine-grained color negative film made by Kodak. Maybe currently in production? I'm not sure. It's something I'd never heard of before, and it's also easy to immediately think of AeroChrome when you hear Aero Color. But it is not that special or expensive. AeroChrome is the now discontinued Kodak Color infrared slide film. AeroChrome has sensitivity to the infrared color light spectrum, which means that you can get very strange, surreal, otherworldly looks to your images when shot with the right filter. Aero Color is not that. It is a medium-speed color negative film that is used for mapping and reconnaissance, which is nowhere near as cool as AeroChrome. This film is maybe still in production by Kodak because I couldn't find anywhere saying that it had been discontinued, but it's also very difficult to find, and that might be because it's an aerial film, so there's not like a lot of general information about it. There's a 2009 tech sheet from Kodak for Aero Color 4, which says that it's for general use in medium to high altitude aerial mapping and aerial reconnaissance photography. It is suited for geological, pollution, archaeological, crop and forestry studies, traffic control, city planning, railway, highway, and hydraulic engineering, oceanography, and remote sensing, as well as other areas where photogrammetry is used. Or we can throw it into a camera and go for a walk in the park. I got some rolls of Aero Color 3 in 35mm from a camera store in Russia called Focus, I believe. I'm kind of going off of Google Translate here because everything was in Russian. And I also assumed that I maybe would never see this film after the tracking info stopped updating somewhere in Egypt. It took about 3 months to get to me. I dropped my Aero Color off at a lab, and it was scanned on a Rarity lab scanner. And my initial reaction when I got the shots back was that they were very, very orange. Like very, very orange. Skin tones, trees, there's some shots that have some nice looking blues to them, but overall this stuff is so incredibly orange, and I did not like it on first inspection. This was also very different from a lot of the results that I was seeing people post online when I was doing some research on Aero Color. A film that definitely looked to be much more subdued and cooler than the results that I was getting back. In terms of shooting it, there's nothing too complex about it. It's a pretty standard 125 ISO color negative film. It doesn't need any filters or anything to shoot it properly. It's just daylight balanced. Unlike something like AeroChrome that requires a specialized like yellow or orange filter along with pockets full of cash in order to get those sweet, sweet, crazy colors. One of my best examples of how incredibly orange this stuff is this shot of Ben, who is also in an orange coat, and along with just the heavy orange cast on his skin, he's starting to look like Arnold on that Magic School Bus episode where he ate too many seaweedies.
I'm orange!
Look it up. But once I got the negative back from the lab, I decided to do some camera scans of it in order to compare it up against the Rarity lab results, and the results are very different. One of the very noticeable characteristics of Aero Color when you actually look at your developed film is that this color negative film doesn't have an orange base to it. I don't fully understand like the deep technical explanation for why this film lacks the orange base, but the datasheet does say that since this film does not have integral color masking, direct interpretation can be made from the negative. I've already covered the basics of camera scanning previously, but I just threw my Aero Color through the Veloy holder that I have here, along with my Lumix digital camera, a vintage Canon FD macro lens, and then inverted the shots in Lightroom using Negative Lab Pro. And my results are much more in line with what I expected from Aero Color based off of other samples that I've seen. It's so much more blue than the Rarity scans. It could be that the Rarity scanner has problem handling it because it lacks the orange base to it, and it is different from other color negative films that it's calibrated to handle. So this stuff definitely comes out better looking when I'm going through the camera scanning process and inverting negatives on my own. Going through this process, I get shots that are very, very blue in comparison to ones that are overwhelmingly orange. It's much more subdued, it's a little more natural looking, but it does have this kind of heavy blue look to it that is a little different from what I'm used to when I'm seeing a lot of the other Kodak film. Aero Color is also meant for an AN6 process. Yeah, I don't know either. It is compatible though with the standard C41 color negative process though, so like no worries taking it into a normal lab. AN6 I believe is specifically meant for aerial film color processors, so it's not really something that you're going to see very often or maybe hear about ever. So my biggest question for the Aero Color stuff is primarily why is it only available in Russia? You might be able to find large rolls of this stuff in strange sizes because of its technical uses. A 100-foot roll of it sold on eBay for $400, but the film is 127 millimeters wide. To source this stuff in rolls of 120 or 35 millimeter that you can actually shoot in a regular camera, it's primarily only available in Russia. Aero Color has a little Flickr group as well, and if you look at the map of all the posts, they're all from Russia. And I don't really have an explanation for that. I do know that in the past there were a few people who were rebranding Aero Color at one point. Rolly CN200, a color negative film from a few years back that I don't believe is available anymore, I think was rebranded Aero Color because it also had a very similar base to it, like the no orange, clearish color negative base. And a company called Tasma Films was also rebranding Aero Color at one point as well. Tasma is a Russian film company that's been around since the 1930s, so maybe at one point there was just a ton of Aero Color floating around in Russia. I don't know. Maybe it's still in production. Maybe there's a small corner of Kodak somewhere, some factory, some machine that is still spitting out rolls of aerial tech film. The 2009 tech sheet does give contact information to send an email to ariel@kodak.com or write to Eastman Kodak Company, Aerial Imaging, Rochester, New York. I like to imagine like one guy sitting in a really dusty, dimly lit office in Rochester who is answering all the calls and handling all the stuff for the aerial film department. Everybody else has gone home, forgotten about him, and every single one of his emails is, "Dear Sir, please bring back Aerochrome." So it's an interesting enough film. And for all you Aero Color shooters out there, what's up? What's going on? Tell me about this stuff, because it is kind of a mystery. Why is it only available in Russia? It's weird to scan on lab scanners and different if you're scanning it on like a camera scanning setup. There's a variety of different results that you can get with it. And you can get it in medium format rolls as well. So I'll include some information to where I got this down below in the description, and you can check it out if you're looking to score some somewhat obscure Kodak film that is only available in Russia. Again, this is Aero Color 3, and Aero Color 4 does exist somewhere, so you can probably track that down as well if you're really after like the newest version of it. So you might have to do a little bit of a search to find exactly where to get rolls of this stuff. But if you're one of those people who likes to shoot obscure film that makes people go, what is it? Where did it come from? Then maybe add Aero Color to your list. It's interesting. eBay doesn't really seem to know what I'm talking about when I try and look for it, but it's maybe worth shooting. Thank you so much for checking this out. And Aero Color, I guess, apparently. C41 compatible, color negative film. Check out the description down below for links to support the channel. There's merch available, like some shirts and just some little designs if you're interested in that. The Patreon if you want to just support the channel and help this stuff grow, so I can maybe hunt down some Aero Color 4 if anybody's got some that they're not looking to shoot anytime soon. There's also the P.O. Box, so you can send some along, because I couldn't find some that I could actually buy and order and have PayPal let me do it. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.